Hello and welcome to Power Moves, the podcast that gives you actionable insight into what makes successful entrepreneurs successful. Today, my guest is Cesar Vargas, entrepreneur and leader behind Joanna Vargas Salon, one of the most respected luxury beauty brands in New York City as well as Los Angeles. Today, we're talking about entrepreneurship, taking risks, building a luxury brand, training teams, understanding the numbers that drive a business, and the level of belief required to build something exceptional. Cesar, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. For our listeners that don't know you, I'd love for you to give them a bit of an intro to yourself and the salon.
Sure, Alex. Well, we have actually three locations now. One in Brooklyn, Dumbo. The one we have in New York is on Fifth Avenue. That's where we started. That's our flagship. And we have also one in LA or West Hollywood specifically. We have a skincare line, and the way people know us is because we are known for like our non-invasive or minimally invasive treatments that produce results. Our skincare line was developed by Joanna through like many years of experience and talking to clients, specifically telling her what they needed or wanted in a skincare product. So she got the idea of, let's say, picking a very particular set of problems that a client was expressing or concerns, and then developing a product for that particular need. The products are plant-based and have been a major success with celebrities, VIPs, literally people from all over the world.
Amazing. And so taking us back to the beginning, did you know that you would be here today? And how did this journey get started?
Um, yes, I did know that I was going to be here today.
There we go.
I'm going to explain myself. I think that part was a little bit delusional, I'll be honest with you, because when you start, at least for me, like I have like this perhaps delusions of grandeur, and an ability to kind of imagine where I want to be at a certain point in my life. Perhaps if I have been educated or taught or known more about business, I would be like, wow, that's going to be nearly impossible or not at all.
Mm.
So I think in order to be an entrepreneur or a person that is willing to start a business, you have to have this idea, as crazy as it might be, that you're going to make it. Because why start it after all? Why consider the possibility of failure when basically you have virgin ground, the future? You're moving towards an unknown, but at least you're putting something that you believe will actually occur. So if you have that certainty, go for it. If there's any doubts, reservations, or an inability to like project where you might wind up, I will say stop yourself, consider your options, because there might not necessarily be for you being an entrepreneur or a business owner.
So you don't believe everyone is fit to be a business owner or a founder?
Yeah, absolutely not. It takes like guts. It takes like the ability to be unwilling to receive a communication other than the fact that it's going to succeed.
Mm.
At least for me, I don't know how other entrepreneurs are. I don't know how other people kind of like accept basically that they will succeed, that they will actually like make it. If you don't have that kind of fortitude, again, this is not for you, because you need to believe above all else that you're going to make it. And
What were
it might be
some of
totally
the,
crazy, by the way. It might be completely insane, that idea, and you might not make it, but the fact still remains that you have to believe. You have to have an absolute deep seated belief that you're going
Mhm.
to actually succeed.
Well, there's no assurances in life.
That's for sure. That is an absolute for sure. You
And
know,
so, just as you might think that there's no security in starting your own thing, there isn't any security in working for anyone else either.
Both have their plus points and minus points, I would call them, right? Like, definitely, like being an entrepreneur gives you the ability to create your own dream. Working for somebody else, you're creating their dream. I, for one, would have loved to stay perhaps working for somebody else. That was sort of like my dream, to kind of like work for somebody else, grind it, like perfect my craft, so to speak. But life kind of like dealt me a different set of cards, or hands, as you might call it, right? So I had to kind
Sure.
of pivot and decide, like, well, I'm doing this because my family needs it. I'm doing this because I need it. I cannot work for somebody else because I don't think I will ever make that kind of money that I need in order to support my family and my dreams.
Yeah, I mean, to your point earlier, sure, entrepreneurship isn't a fit for everyone, but also everyone's definition of success isn't the same. And
Oh my God.
so there definitely are those that, you know, money is energy, it's a tool. And depending on what one's goals and games are in life, they have to look at what lines up best for that. You could be a top executive or be a partner in something that doesn't have to scale to multiple millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars necessarily to live a fulfilling life. So I love that you're bringing this up. And I guess I'm curious for you, because you're talking about being an entrepreneur is taking risks. What risks did you guys take early on in starting this business?
The earliest was basically us maxing out our credit cards, because we had this idea that we were going to start this business. And technically, the size of the office that we acquired was practically like a jail cell. I think it's like a 12 by 12, something like that. It was tiny, you know, it was so small that you literally had to whisper as you walked in, because you couldn't disturb the services that were going on. And there were only two rooms in a tiny, tiny, tiny little reception area. We had
Mm,
the smallest reception desk ever.
mm.
And when you picked up the phone, it was like, hello, Joanna Vargas, can I help you?
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. But maxing out our credit cards was like a leap of faith. We knew that there was no way for us to be able to ever pay it back if we failed.
Mm,
So, in that sense, like burning the ships was all we could do,
mm,
because there was no way to look back. Like, it's not like we destroyed relationships as we walked out of our present jobs, so to speak. But we knew we couldn't go back either.
mm.
So you had to kind of like burn those bridges, burn those ships, and like the only way to success is basically move forward.
So at the time when you started this business, you and Joanna both were working for other people.
Yeah. She was already an esthetician. I was a small business consultant at that time, for dentists and chiropractors. And, it paid the bills. It was fulfilling in itself. And
Hmm.
I could have stayed with that company for like ever.
Mm.
However, like the partners were in strife, and they literally disintegrated the company that I worked for. And I had no other choice but to move out, so to speak.
Wow.
Yeah, like I could have still possibly been working for them if I was making good money. She was making good money. There was really no need for us to go anywhere else.
Hmm.
But this sort of like, because I was the first one exiting out, and I didn't know what I was going to wind up doing. I didn't think I could just start another consulting company, or wanted to do
Hmm.
that at all.
Hmm.
Um, but I did want to own my own business, perhaps go back to school. I wanted to be a lawyer, a pilot, like a doctor. Everything that I wanted to do took like a long, long time to get to
Totally.
a point where you're actually making money. So I was like, what's the easiest thing I could possibly do? Start my own business. Okay, what kind of business? I looked around and I saw my wife. I was like, hey, you're pretty good at this.
Typical Cesar Vargas communication.
Yeah, it's like, you're pretty good at this. And she
In,
was
in
like,
case you didn't know, Thought I'd tell you, I think you're doing a good job.
Pretty good at this. She was incredible, as a matter of fact. Like she was already working with celebrity clients, even though she worked for somebody else.
Sure.
She had stable, like clientele. That will
Hmm.
only see her. But so when I told her, she was completely against the idea. She thought that I was crazy, that it wouldn't work. We're
Wow.
now going to compete against like major spas, and you think in New York City, like that, you're just going to start this little spa. You think it's going to be able to compete? I was
Sure.
like, I'm not trying to compete. You know?
What were you
Yeah.
trying to do?
Uh, we're just trying to like survive in essence.
Sure.
I was trying to like bring home the bacon for my family. My wife was,
Sure.
we had a small kid at home, like barely a year old. And I
Wow.
was like, well, we need to do something with this.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So then what ultimately convinced her to say yes to the idea?
I think just talking, communicating. I recall one day because we were living in Brooklyn at the time, we were walking past a store that was going out of business. I was like, you see that? I would have never let that happen because I know one thing for sure that would have prevented that from occurring. And she was like, what's that? I was like, mailing to the people that basically had come in, purchased something. If you had captured those identities, I could communicate to them that we're having a sale, we have new furniture, please tell your friends about us, right? Because it was just basic marketing. They were going out
Mm.
of sale, and it was a beautiful furniture store. We went in there and like racked up all of this furniture that some of it we still have in the house.
Mhm.
But and she kind of like got the idea that I knew something about something. And
Mhm.
she kind of like, at that point in time, she agreed with me. It's like, well, maybe we
Well,
should start it. And then she asked me, how will we do it? And then we went
hmm.
on there.
So did you build like a whole roadmap and plan before you got into it? Did you like walk me through that process there?
I had never done a business plan, right? We had both never owned anything. As a matter of fact, I couldn't tell you the first thing of like how to even create one, right?
Mm.
However, like there is something that I did implement, and it's first determining the goal. What is it that we're trying
Hmm.
to achieve with Joanna Vargas? And we both immediately identified that we wanted to like deliver a service that was above and beyond what people normally get. So for us, it was
Hmm.
just the identification of like that service, that product, and
Hmm.
then beginning to like work from there as like our anchor, so to speak, that we were
Or
gonna
your
like
guiding principle.
the guiding principle exactly. And we built the business entirely around this idea that you could deliver um, in abundance and still make money,
Mm.
and therefore like capture every single person that walked through the door because they have been given something that was unexpected, you know
Hmm.
yet super fulfilling for them, and that their money in their pocket was worth a lot less than what they just received. So
Hmm.
from that point forward, we got other referrals because I didn't know anything about the internet. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to blog. So it was almost all word of mouth, you
Wow.
know. Yeah. But Joanna is an incredible artist. She knows her craft, and she really created services that would fulfill the need of a woman or a man, depending on
Hmm.
their skincare goals, and we will be able
Hmm.
to like give that to them with absolute precision.
Hmm. That's amazing because doing what you've done is not easy. I know so many spas and beauty brands that try and fill the slots of their technicians, their estheticians. They have trouble going from one location to having two, and they even then have to like retreat and close down a location. But I've known you for years now, and you've managed to keep not only two locations afloat, but you opened up a third location. You've kept the brand reputation alive and well. So it's very impressive. And I'd love to know, just from your perspective, how did you go about like making that jump where so many people have just failed to even get one salon full? How have you been able to expand not only to two locations but three, and just, you have an omnipresence to you in the
Yeah.
industry. You have a name.
Document everything. Like literally every process that you have to document it, and you have to like put it into like whether it's a protocol, whether it's a system, whether it's the way you greet your clients. It doesn't really matter what it is. If you have a very specific thing that you're doing and it's successful, you want to document that thing and
Hmm.
get granular if you have to. But that becomes now the roadmap to success for that particular thing. Let's say in customer service, right? Just literally like, how do you answer the phone call? How do you answer emails? At what speed? When you're trying to get somebody in, like don't say like that's booked. You're just like, let me work on this. Just changing the wording of that
Hmm.
will make a big difference. But I think documenting everything and then training whoever comes on board to do that thing exactly as you've done it, because you have to in essence duplicate yourself with everybody that you're going to bring on board. Right now we have about 60 employees, and it's not that we want robots, right? But you want people to really understand like what are the guiding principles to the success of the company,
Hmm.
and you have to like really explain it to them, and you have to be willing to train them, retrain them, and keep going over these particular points over and over and over again until they understand it and can then deliver that thing that people
Hmm.
are coming for you for. You know,
Hmm.
Obviously, if somebody can't do it, you got to get rid of them. If somebody can't learn, is unwilling, doesn't see the vision, you got to exit those people out. But no matter who comes with whatever level of expertise or experience, you still have to train them. You
Hmm.
cannot assume that they know what they're going to be doing, especially in your place, because you're the only one that really knows what has gotten you there. It's not that you can't receive other information. You should be open to other information, but is it workable? Can it be applied? Does it result in something that will actually be good, profitable?
Hmm.
You know?
Right. No, that makes complete sense. And I've seen it firsthand through documenting processes, just how it not only changes the customer experience, but also just the success rate of whatever activity you're doing. It's almost like a formula. If you know doing 1 + 2 = 2 each time, then there you go. You have that process, and that can take you from being a 4-star salon to being a 5-star salon completely.
Yeah.
What would you say? Because I've talked to entrepreneurs, I've had to fight with them on this, but they're too busy to document what they're doing. And yet, the only way for them to get less busy is if they document what they're doing. They're stuck in being the one doing it all, and yet they can't delegate because they have to export this knowledge. What advice would you give someone like that?
I think it's easiest when you first start, like a small business. It gets harder and harder as you grow, right? But if you're whatever stage you're in, if that is where your bottleneck is, so to speak, you have to do it, whether it's like assigning yourself like an hour each day to just work on that. That
Hmm.
becomes part of your schedule. It's like every single day for an hour, I'm going to do this. And that's all there is to it. Like I don't spend my entire day answering emails, because that will be the entire day for me. Because sometimes I get like 100 emails in a day, but I give myself only a slot of time to answer those emails. And then everything's going to have to wait until the next day if I don't get to it. So it's prioritizing your needs and the needs of the company, but also ensuring like what's going to give you the highest return. You know,
Hmm.
the highest return is always being able to like document something, train somebody on it, because then that person runs with that, and then they free up your time, free
Hmm.
your resources. You are a resource for the company, so you have to free
Hmm.
yourself up so that you could do other things that are far more valuable than you actually like taking a broom and start sweeping, the front area. Because I done it, I done the laundry, like I like try, like drive people around, like whatever it is that I needed to do, I did it. But at some
Hmm.
point, somebody else had to take that over for me, because like if you consider the value of your time XYZ, you have to
Hmm.
figure out how to shed that, because it's going to cost you a lot less.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you've done that exceptionally well to get to the point where you have 60 employees. I know you've held that headcount for quite some time. So this isn't just hiring a volume of people and then it's a revolving door. I'm sure, just like with any company, you have staff that come and go, but you've maintained that headcount for quite some time. So definitely applaud you for that. What would you say, because you went from both working for someone else to starting this business, you bet on yourselves, you put everything on credit cards, essentially, from what I'm understanding, you bootstrap this business. How long did it take from when you started the business to when you saw that the business was actually starting to make money, would you say?
Um, Again, it depends on what you consider money, right? Or what you consider like now we're making it. Um,
Sure.
I think we were profitable within the first year for sure.
Great.
Like within 6 months, we could see that we were making money. But and by making money, perhaps what I'm trying to say is that we were stably making some income. You know,
Sure.
we had clients now coming in on a regular basis. You know, we were promoting far more than we needed in order to get
Hmm.
more clients in. So at this point,
Hmm.
we're trying to do Facebook, Google Ads, whatever I needed to do, sending out postcards. We have also like word of mouth, uh, Google reviews, etc. Right? When the income starts stabilizing, then you could see that you're like going to make it, so to speak. But
Sure.
when we saw that we were making money, was most likely, I think, within the first year we were making a profit.
Sure.
Which was surprising. I'll be honest with you. Like knowing what I know now, it was surprising that we were making any money. You know,
Okay.
again, it's that delusional part. It's like, yeah, we're gonna make money,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
but you just don't know all of the different expenses that are part of that channel that will make you
Hmm.
money. And when you
Hmm.
really begin to understand all of the expenses, then you begin to see how much it whittles it down to whatever that percentage is ultimately.
Sure. Yeah, that makes complete sense. Were those first 6 to 12 months like just a steady rise? Was it grueling? Did you question the decision at any point? Like, take
Yeah,
me there.
I I keep going back to this one thought, like I really was delusional, I'll be honest with you. There was just like my wife has a different experience completely, and I would not tell it for her, but her experience is different from mine.
Sure.
I was experiencing like a high for whatever reason, even though it was grueling. It was nerve wracking, like we literally could have lost the business. Like literally, I think we could have lost the business within the first 2 months. Like
Sure.
it was that close
That
to the
dire,
bone.
huh?
Yeah, it was unbelievable, like tough. You know, for whatever reason, because I was on this idea that we could make it. I never even once considered the fact that we had so much difficulty in starting the business. You know, uh, but I think you want to hold on to whatever it is that got you there in the first place,
Hmm.
because that's the dream. That's why
Hmm.
you're building everything around, And like
Hmm.
I said, I had no choice. I'm very, unfortunately, perhaps in this day and age, very Latin in the sense that I got to take care of my family. I cannot have my wife take care of me. I'm sorry, I cannot have some other structure other than the fact that like I got to be the provider. And it's not where
Mm.
I'm the provider, I'll be honest with you, because we both make money. We have this business together, So it's not like I'm bringing home the bacon, but I needed to have a significant impact on our income.
Sure.
And the only way I could do it was by starting this business with her,
Hmm.
and even though she was the mechanic, so to speak, I had to really figure out like, okay, what's it going to take to get to the next level? How do we even hire the first person? You know,
Sure.
like what is that process like?
Hmm.
I seen it done before. I never done it, so I seen people hire this, that, the other. I try to figure out, like, I will ask Joanna so many questions that, like, okay, like, what are you looking for in an esthetician? Or what are you looking
Hmm.
for in a front desk person? I would really like, I used to talk to her all the time because I wanted to know everything she knew because she
Hmm.
had been in that industry. I had never been in the
Right.
industry. The only thing I brought is my knowledge or expertise on the fundamentals of a business, which are similar to all businesses, right? But
Sure.
I was not part of that industry, but I needed to really understand it. And I would drive her mad for the first 3 years. Like one day she told me, like, you cannot talk to me about business anymore once we're home. Matter of fact, it's like the moment we get in the car, you're done, you know. And I was like, what do you mean? You know, she was like, she literally put a stop to me talking because I used to just talk to her about business all the time.
Sure. It
She was,
become like when you're married and you're running a business together, it's like that is a common point of reality and discussion.
yeah, totally. And she was like, all we do is talk about business. I'm not doing this
Right.
anymore. When you
Yeah.
come home, you got to be my husband. You got to be a dad. You got to
Sure.
like change.
Right.
And like, so I had to make that pivot, right? But my point is, again, I educated myself as to like what was needed and wanted or what she thought was going to be successful.
Right. Hold on. On that note of being a husband and father, I have to make sure a diaper gets in the other room.
Perfect.
Yes. Now, what would you say was your it factor, your key differentiator that really set you apart in an industry that I imagine, just about anyone could say they're special or they could say that they're different, but actions and experiences speak louder than words. What was that for you?
Joanna.
Hmm.
100% Joanna, like she has a depth of understanding
Hmm.
that is unmatched. You know,
Mm.
she could really talk to anybody. Um, First of all, she's highly educated. She could talk to anybody about like politics, like AI, art, you know, fashion, whatever.
Sure.
Like there's so many subjects that a particular person could come and present to her that she wouldn't know something about it and discuss it intelligently. You know,
Mm.
when Joanna gets together then with her clients, it's not just about skin, it's really about a personal relationship that they build, and it's built around some common agreement or reality. She sees a lot of artists, right? Can you imagine like having A-list celebrities like talking to you like about movies, art, colors,
Mm.
various different things, and she not only understands it, but she also can present her own ideas. It's
Mm.
really remarkable, I'll be honest with you. And then you have aspects of like, oh, like this cream or this product that I tried, it was incredibly wonderful, like I wish, like you had something like that here, or like just gathering information, almost like data mining the clients, right?
Hmm.
By just talking though,
Mm.
and assessing like what was really important. to that
Hmm.
woman or a set of women, and then coming up with a product that could service those needs. I think
Hmm.
it's incredible, like she really has, I think, traveled, like very eloquently down like the road of like being an artist herself, and like really understanding how to like then put the mechanics behind this so that she could present a product or service that was really unmatched.
Hmm.
Anyway, so like if I had an if factor, it would be Joanna, because I would totally like have a different brand. It wouldn't even be the same thing.
Hmm.
Mine will probably be like low rent. Just, I don't know,
Hmm.
it wouldn't be the same brand at all,
Sure.
because my ideas of what drives a person in are completely different than her ideas. But I had taken her ideas because those are the things that really like speak luxury,
Hmm.
presence, um, customer experience, all of these things she just has an incredible understanding of.
Hmm. And you mentioned that one thing that entrepreneurs need to do is they need to be responsible for any outcome. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. I mean, there have been times, by the way, when I have made like massive mistakes, you know,
Hmm.
whether it's financially, like I just committed money into like an area that flopped, or I hired somebody that ultimately was destroying my company, you know.
Hmm.
So part of being responsible is understanding that you made those choices, and that now these are the results of those choices. Just like everybody wants to like validate their wins, right? Like I made some massive moves that paid off. Like, yeah, baby, right? That's like awesome,
Hmm.
right? That was me taking those, making those choices, and therefore I got some, whatever the result that was, right? Which was like massive, a massive win, let's say, right?
Hmm.
So just like I took ownership over that, I had to take ownership over the other things that didn't quite go as well.
Hmm.
And if you start pointing fingers as to like who made, ultimately you got to think of yourself as the source, right?
Hmm.
As the prime mover unmoved, as the person that, like this is the deciding factor over everything. And if you kind
Sure.
of like take that approach, then you're going to be successful, because the only solution to like a problem or a situation that you got yourself in is like recognizing that you made those choices, and then figuring out, okay, how do I walk out of this then? What do I
Hmm.
need to do? Because in there lies the answer to like the actions that you need to take in order to like become successful again. Even when you have a massive loss, you could still win by being responsible for that situation.
Hmm.
Gotta
What
really
is
know.
your idea on being responsible? What does that mean to you?
Um, it's an interesting concept because, like I think it's an understanding that you are the the source of that particular outcome. That's being responsible. Like if you really understand that, if I gave you a pencil and I told you to move it or like write, if you really understand that you did that, then you're being responsible for the controlling of that pencil or the controlling of
Hmm.
that pen, right? And in the control lies responsibility, because you got to be able to start something, you got to be able to change it, you got to be able to stop it. That's
Hmm.
responsibility over something. So
Hmm.
if you cannot start, change, stop it, or have ideas that somebody else is doing that for you, then you're
Hmm.
not in control, and therefore you're not responsible for it.
Hmm. And how has your perspective on ownership and responsibility changed over the years?
I think dramatically, like even now I struggle with responsibility. I could be like high fucking like flung, like, oh my God, I'm so responsible. But the truth is that sometimes I don't want to be responsible. Sometimes I make a mistake and I want to blame it on my wife. I want to blame it on an employee. I want to blame it on some other circumstance. And only when I say like stop yourself, or like I have to like, or somebody, my wife is a perfect person to like say like, you gotta like really stop that, who did
Mm.
that,
She'll
you know
call you out.
she'll call me out, and like then I have to really look at it, and it's me, it's
Hmm.
just me, like there's nobody else, you know
Hmm.
and I think one of the perfect books is I think the guy Jocko Willis, I think that's his last name, right?
Willick.
Willick, yeah. Complete or Total Ownership, I forgot the name of the book. I love that book so much.
Extreme ownership. Yeah.
Oh my God, incredible book. If anybody really wants to understand something about responsibility, read that book. If you want to understand something about ownership, read that book. If you really
Hmm.
want to like get yourself into the game, start applying the principles of that book, because I think they're all there, and
Hmm.
and it really takes you from like pointing fingers to like, no, I'm it. There's nobody
Hmm.
else. You got to think of
Hmm.
yourself without being, blasphemous, like a god. You are
Hmm.
the God that
Hmm.
created that universe, that created that enterprise, that created that circumstance. And you could also, therefore, change it, fix it,
Hmm.
destroy it, if you will,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, it's become extremely real to me over the years of just working with so many founders and leading my own business as a consulting firm too. It's just at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that you messed up. It doesn't matter that you made a decision and it didn't work. What matters is that you learn from it and you continue to persist towards your ideals, your code, your goals, because that's really the only way we learn. And that's really the only way that we succeed. Every at bat that we have is a chance at a winning idea or a winning move. And no one necessarily remembers how you messed up. They remember how you took ownership for something. They remember how you led them towards victory or towards success. They remember ultimately the effect that you left upon them. And that
Yeah,
fully is in your control.
absolutely. I think you said something very key there: persist. That's another way of describing an entrepreneur. They have to be able to persist, you know,
Hmm.
on a given course without, again, you got to trust yourself at the end of the day. But persist. If you're able to persist long enough, you're going to win.
It's a common thread that I hear and I preach as well.
Yeah, there's almost like nothing that you cannot accomplish if you continue to persist, because you're going to learn some, if you're willing also to take responsibility and learn from the mistakes, whatever the mistake might be. If you're willing to like lose, go back in,
Hmm.
lose, go back in. Eventually, you're going to win because you keep learning what not to do.
Hmm. Right.
You keep learning what to do.
Hmm.
I think is even more important, right? But the point is that you're always going to have an outcome which is favorable if you continue to persist.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, Caesar, what do you feel is the lesson that took you longest to learn as a business owner, but you're happy you did?
Um, I'm not quite sure about that. I don't know really how to answer that, because I don't think like I mean, I always go back to this point. I wish I knew more. I wish
Hmm.
I knew more about finance. I wish I knew more about marketing. I wish I knew more about, establishment. I wish I knew more about like production. All of these different things, all of these are like subjects in themselves of a company, right?
Hmm.
Like how to be an executive, right? So like I'm still learning. So like the common thread I think throughout that entire time is like I wish I spent more time educating myself so that I could be a better leader, so that I could
Hmm.
be a better owner, so that I could be a better um, guide. Because in essence, like that is your role as the owner or entrepreneur of a company. You're the guy. You're there to guide people. you know.
Hmm.
You're there to lead them in a certain direction, and you have to be able to do it in such a way that people don't resent you. And I think
Hmm.
language, the ability to like really be empathetic without also being soft, which is a balance in itself, you know.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's probably one of the things that I would say has taken me the longest to learn, because when I was younger, I was like, smash. I think I'm a naturally very aggressive person, but
Hmm.
what I have learned is how to rein myself in
Hmm.
and harness that energy so it doesn't just go smashing, but really kind of like deliberately move in a certain direction without harming just about everything that it comes across.
Hmm.
So I think that is something that my wife has helped me with.
Hmm.
That's something that I have recognized at different points in time, that was too harsh of an approach, and therefore like it mold somebody, you could say. But
Hmm.
I always learned this, like, okay, that's not a very good result, you know and leadership has to take responsibility again for the results that the person has, that you have on your
Hmm.
employees, I think.
Hmm. Amazing. So, Caesar, what exciting things are you guys working on? What do we have to look forward to see from Joanna Vargas Salon?
I think there's several. Right now, we have a beautiful contract with American Airlines.
Wow.
So like Joanna Vargas is on, I think, about 300 plus flights per day. Um, More recently, they're added something to that contract, which is, it's going to be a hand soap that's going to be in every laboratory, plus an air freshener. That means that we're going to be, I think, on nearly like 1,000 flights per day.
Wow.
That's one thing. Also, American is, as far as I know, I can't say this. I'm sorry.
NDA.
Oh, I was
Don't
about
say
to.
it.
Oh my God. Sorry. I cannot say that.
It's okay. This isn't being recorded.
Yeah. We have a couple of contracts that are in the works with some other hotels. We have a couple with the Four Seasons. We're about to have another one, perhaps in Abu Dhabi, but we're also working with another hotel chain that's going to like most likely be a European hotel chain.
Wow.
Those are like very exciting things, and I'm looking forward also to like expanding our management service, like, because we're not a medical company, we have to have a medical director, but the medical director is coming in and is very well acclimated in the beauty industry. So we're going to be delivering like minimally invasive medical, aesthetic medical services, which is another like big, like jump for us. And I think we're planning on doing something with the skincare line, which will give access to, let's say somebody that's budget conscious. We're trying to create an entire line just for as an entry level to the Joanna
Mhm.
Vargas premium skincare that we have.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, as a current customer, as a friend of yours, someone that's worked with you in the past, I'm so happy to hear of your success and what you guys continue to do. The future looks exceptionally bright for you and Joanna. So thank you for imparting your wisdom and being a guest on the show. And I can't wait to see what you guys do next.
Thank you so much, Alex. It was a pleasure. And I hope this was useful to whoever's going to listen to it. I appreciate you. All right.
I'm sure it will.
Cool. Thank you.